made a short video just prior to this one about using the Brother Scan and Cut to cut my pieces for my Millefiori quilt so that I could do hand piecing rather than English paper piecing. I did okay with the English paper piecing, but when I did solid fabrics on a star like this one that had a lot of points meeting in the middle, it just did not look neat. I used flat back stitching and normal, the standard way of doing English paper piecing. The flat back looked a lot better, but I still didn't get the results that I wanted. So I hand pieced this one, and I cut all the pieces out on my Brother Scan and Cut, and I also marked the seam allowances before I let the machine cut the pieces out. So this one I have pressed, and you can see little ghost imprints of where the stitching lines were, which is fine with me because they're all on the wrong side of the fabric, and it helps me to line up the next pieces that need to be sewn onto this. So I mainly, for this video, just wanted to show how it looks on dark colored fabric. And again, this is the holder that I'm using with my Brother Scan and Cut. This little device helps you measure the depth of the pin, and then you tighten that down and you get it into your machine, and you can mark all your cutting lines first, then you load your rotary blade and cut out all the pieces. So on this one I'm going to be sewing these pieces to this star here. So I really don't need the sewing lines marked on this one, but I find it helpful to line up the points. So this one's going to go in here like this. So I decided to do a little test on a dark colored fabric, and I used a black. And so you might not have but a couple of colors of your Frixion pins. So I drew several lines with several different colors, and if you were drawing this by hand, it's going to be a little bit hard, but if you're letting your machine draw it, it doesn't really matter, because when you press this, the little ghost is going to show up on this black fabric. So I'm just drawing several different lines, and you can see the test that I did here. So let me see if I can zoom in a little bit better on that. I don't know if you can see where I tested it right here. So just trust me, you can see those ghost lines. So I'm going to take my hot iron and press over the lines that I just drew with those other pins. So don't worry about not being able to see the lines on dark fabric if you're going to be using these pins in your Cricut or your Brother Scan and Cut, because they will show up well enough for you to see the lines. So a lot of people complained about the Frixion pins leaving marks behind, but I'm always doing this on the wrong side of the fabric. So if a ghost shadow is left behind, it's not a big deal, and in this case it's really helping me out on this dark fabric. So I haven't found that the Frixion pins bleed through to the right side of the fabric. On the Cricut machine, I used their fabric pen, the washable fabric pen, but it's a really fat tip on it, a really broad tip, and it makes a fat line that bleeds through to the right side of the fabric. So you end up having to wash the block to get those markings out. So I really didn't like that one. I'm not sure if they make an air erasable pen for that you can use in those machines, but I like to prepare a whole bunch of pieces ahead of time and get them ready to take with me wherever I go. So that air erasable would not work for me. So anyway, this is how you can use Frixion pins on a dark fabric and still be able to see your lines.